Thailand has a unique, somewhat paradoxical relationship to the LGBTQ community. While its tourism ministry advertises Thailand as a haven for LGBT travelers, with its many sex reassignment clinics, gay-friendly hotels, and clubs, everyday life for LGBT citizens is strikingly different from the glossy, glamorous image put forth by the Thai government. Trans women in particular often find themselves at the center of this dissonance. Stefan Schultz writes in his article, Confronting Reality in a Transgender Paradise, Thais tend to be polite with members of the transgender community that they don't know personally. But if someone from their family or close circle of friends is interested in expressing their transgender identity, they are frequently unaccepting. There seems to be two spheres, a public one and a private one, each with its own etiquette. The public sphere, moreover, is largely defined by two cultural particularities. First, Thais are eager to avoid conflict to the extent possible, which makes public displays of hostility something of a taboo, even against transsexuals. Second, the country is predominantly Buddhist, according to which transsexuals committed sins in a previous life, and as punishment, they were reborn in the wrong body. As such, one should pity them rather than insult them. This tension between tradition and public image has led to the marginalization of trans women in Thailand, both in real life and on screen. Trans women, as well as feminine-presenting gay men, are often relegated to comedic relief roles in Thai film and television, in which the punchline is a trans or effeminate gay character's exaggeration of typically feminine traits. Vanity, cattiness, and other negative character qualities are regularly associated with these characters. Rarely is a trans woman or gender nonconforming individual painted in a sympathetic light. We are meant to laugh at them, not with them. There are some exceptions to the rule, such as a Fallen Leaf, in which a cis woman portrays a trans woman who falls in love with her uncle-in-law. There is, however, one truly exceptional portrayal of a transgender woman in Thai media that comes from a very unlikely source. Let's revisit Three Will Be Free and the Importance of May. In mid-2019, Channel GMMTV partnered with 131 to release a 10-episode series titled Three Will Be Free. Heavily inspired by Hollywood action flicks in its story and neo-noir films in its cinematography, Three Will Be Free is a radical departure from the standard Thai drama. The three leads, a bisexual sex worker, a gay mafia heir, and a female sex worker, are about as unconventional as they come in terms of main characters. The series garnered traction for its depiction of polyamory, as well as tackling issues related to Thailand's lucrative red light district and the effects of poverty. It should be no surprise, then, that Three Will Be Free's antagonists are equally as subversive. Enter Tur, a bisexual hitman employed by the mafia, and May, a waitress on a quest for revenge. In May's introductory scene, we learn two crucial pieces of information. May is dark-skinned, and May is trans. In 2020, the winner of Miss Grand Thailand's beauty pageant was subject to online harassment and ridicule due to her darker complexion. The supposed superiority of pale skin, writes Gaspar Ruiz Canela, is openly shown in Thai TV shows and films, where it is used to denote high status. Only in the past year have companies like Johnson & Johnson and L'Oreal begun to withdraw skin-whitening products from shelves, popular with countries such as Thailand, China, and Kenya. Grandview Research, Canela continues, said that the global market for these products was worth over $8.3 billion in 2018. This is undoubtedly why May is a singularity despite the ethnic diversity of Southeast Asia. As Moon Consort aptly points out in her video about colorism in casting, dark-skinned actors in Thai series are few and far between. When they do appear, they are often cast as thugs, criminals, or otherwise insignificant background characters.
Have you ever noticed that every single time there's a character that's doing some harm to another character who's in the main cast, they always have a darker complexion?
Revisiting my earlier statement, I think antagonist is a bit of a misnomer when it comes to describing May. Films and television series have a long, tumultuous history of coding dark-skinned characters as villains to fuel paranoia about certain social or ethnic groups. This is obviously problematic, and I wouldn't consider May to be positive representation had she fallen into this category. But May isn't a villain in the slightest. One of the main leads shot and killed her partner, albeit by accident, and all May wants is closure, is justice for his death, and she has every right to. The only reason May is categorized as an antagonist is because her goals are diametrically opposed to Neo, Mew, and Shin's. The narrative could easily be flipped, with the former being the protagonist and the latter three being the antagonists. May is consistently the most compassionate character in Three Will Be Free, repeatedly convincing her companion Tur to show mercy towards those who killed her partner, and even towards those who treat her poorly because of her gender identity. So, May is trans, and she's played by a trans actress, and she's a main character in a crime thriller series. This is remarkable in itself. To have a trans woman at the center of a narrative not involving gender identity is radical even when compared to more progressive Western television series. But her characterization is perhaps even more noteworthy. Stefan Schultz writes, "In the beauty sector, entertainment, or even sexual industry, it is easy for trans women to have a career. In other fields, career options are quite limited. Thais have rather rigid ideas regarding what jobs are suited for trans women. In Thailand, as elsewhere, many companies are reluctant to employ members of the transgender community. A lawyer named
Wannapong Yodmeong
conducted an experiment in which he sent 2 identical applications to hundreds of companies, the only difference being that one of them was always from a transgender person, while the other was from a man or a woman. The response rate for
กะเทย
was much lower," she says. Three Will Be Free is particularly excellent at subverting audience expectations. We expect Mew to fall into the femme fatale archetype due to the misogynistic undertones common in the action flick genre. Instead, she is the single most well-developed character in the series, who frequently addresses the sexism of her peers. Neo is easily the most seductive and promiscuous character in the series. This subversion of common stereotypes can also be applied to May. In a series inextricably tied to sex work, I find it interesting that May is one of the few characters in Three Will Be Free employed in a field outside of the red light district. In fact, May is the singular character with real career aspirations. Along with her partner, she desires to open a restaurant. This is not to say that Three Will Be Free condemns sex workers. In fact, the series is surprisingly nuanced in its depiction of the industry. Rather, the show works to dismantle the notion that trans women are relegated to a set few career paths.
Because I have to say that in the press, the television, they like to make joke and make fun with the ladyboy. And the people that not that educated, like when they think of the ladyboy transgender, like they don't have too much choice. They have to work in the sex worker part, or they have to be the joke or something like that.
ในมุมมองของต่างชาติเขาจะชอบคิดว่าสาวประเภท2เนี่ยคือผู้หญิงขายตัวหรือโสเภณีเลยบางทีนะอย่างเช่นแบบลองไป Google ดูเขาจะเขียนว่า Lady Boys เท่ากับ prostitute อย่างเงี้ยเรามีมุมมองไงกับเรื่องนี้คิดว่าทำไมเขาถึงมองแบบเนี้ย
ปัจจุบันเอาจริงๆแล้วอะประเทศเราขอโทษนะคะขึ้นชื่อเรื่องนี้มากไม่ว่า Lady Boy หรือผู้หญิง
หมายถึงว่าที่เป็น
ใช่แล้วก็เหมือนภาพลักษณ์ของเรามันกลายเป็นแบบนั้นไปแล้วอะไรเงี้ยเขาก็เลยอาจจะมองว่า everyone หรือเปล่าผู้หญิงไทยเข้าถึงง่ายกระเทยไทยเข้าถึงง่ายอะไรเงี้ยเขาก็เลยอาจจะมองว่ามันอาจจะเป็นทุกคนอะไรเงี้ยแต่ว่าจริงๆแล้วมันไม่ใช่
Additionally, while not being at the crux of her character, May's efforts to have sex reassignment surgery are highlighted numerous times. As a low-income individual, the conversations May has with her doctor, as well as her partner, call attention to the mental, physical, and financial hardships trans women are forced to undergo to simply feel comfortable in their own bodies. Perhaps most importantly, May clarifies that her decision to have the surgery is entirely independent of her partner's opinion. In a country where such conversations are classified as taboo, it's difficult to understate the significance of scenes like these. Despite the series' extensive commentary on life for transgender women, May is far from a token minority character. May's gender is never her defining trait. Her growth stems from the loss of her partner and her budding relationship with Tur. The latter in particular is brilliantly written and beautifully depicts a bond forged out of incredible loss. As such, several of the series' most memorable scenes don't feature the protagonist trio at all. To this day, I have never seen a show capture shared grief as honestly as 3 Will Be Free. Unfortunately, one of the show's greatest strengths, the portrayal of grief and loss, ultimately becomes its downfall. 3 Will Be Free is a very special show to me. It was what inspired me to create this channel. However, I have to address its one glaring flaw: Ter's death. In terms of writing, Ter's death feels like a slap to the face. His death serves no real narrative purpose other than shocking the audience. But for the sake of this video, I want to focus on the implications of Ter's death in relation to Mei. By the end of the series, Mei has lost not one, but two of the most important people in her life. She has undeniably suffered the most out of any character in 3 Will Be Free. The sad truth is, a disproportionate number of LGBTQ characters have met tragic ends in film and television. And while 3 Will Be Free has several other LGBT characters who do eventually get their happy endings, it's bittersweet that Mei, a genuinely well-written transgender woman, does not. Mei's fate isn't completely hopeless, as she has newfound confidence from her time with Ter and a promising future as a restaurant owner. Additionally, her losses are in no way linked to her gender identity. Still, I can only hope that this is not a prevalent theme in future series with trans characters. But all things considered, Mei is a significant step forward for trans representation in Thai media. 3 Will Be Free is not without its flaws, many of which I've talked about in this video. But its ambition to break the cookie-cutter mold and portray LGBT characters with sincerity should be recognized at the very least. Happy Pride Month, and thank you for watching.